up and be honest with our citizens or step down.
Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
May I ask if the comments that you have that you're gonna state orally are in writing? If you mind giving those written comments to the clerk so that she can be sure and post them for them.
No, mine's not in writing.
Okay.
My name is Wayne Williams. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Seems like how soon we forget. Some 20 years ago, we started getting involved in city council meetings and what runs with the city. And it was over at Bobby and Joyce's house, sitting at her kitchen table, along with Jody's parents and several other people that we tried to get the mayor elected to the city council. And there was no hate at the people that were holding those offices at the time. There was no hate at all. I don't allow hate in my house. Okay, but last meeting, the mayor looked right at this side of the table, room over here and called us a bunch of haters. Now, we're gonna let that slide. Because I don't know whether it's ignorance or you don't know the difference between that and frustrated voters. But a little fair warning, Mr. Mayor. Choose your words softly and use a little common sense and respect when you're addressing my wife, because I ain't gonna let it slide again. Is that understood? It better be.
Those are some inaccurate statements. You know, I can remember when you stood right there and said, Dean Holman is the only counselor worth anything sitting up there. I thank you for that. How soon we forget. Okay, do we have anyone else? Hey, Bonnie.
Mayor and trustees, my name is Bonnie Richardson. I'm a longtime resident of Red Oak Downs. And I ran across this under general provisions under chapter 32, city officials. I don't know what you call it. It's a rule book, a blue book, ordinances. Okay, thank you. It tells who the appointed officers of the city are. And underneath that, it has appointment terms. It says at an organizational meeting of the city council, which this year would have been January the 8th, which shall be held every 2 years following what used to be the March election. The mayor shall immediately submit for confirmation by the city council the names of persons who shall fill various appointed offices of the city, or shall serve as members of the various special boards, commissions, or committees of the city. To me, this does not mean that you have to give a 72-hour notice for anything from your new council. This is a standing 2-year provision of the city ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do we have anybody else that would, okay? Would you be sure and state your name, please?
Hello, everyone. I'm Misty Greathouse. I am from the Hampton Inn here in town, and I am also on the Lodgers Tax Committee. I am coming to you guys because one of our long-term members did not get reappointed this year. And we are very concerned about this. We have already had to postpone our first meeting this year because we did not have a quorum. All of us have full-time jobs and kids that we have to attend to. So our member that was not reappointed was like our go-to person to be able to attend the meetings, She's very valuable to our committee. She does all of our extra research and stuff for us since we are busy with work and kids and everything. So now we're shorthanded. It's very hard for us to have a complete quorum. We are now 2 people short of our committee. We've been trying to fill 1 spot for the last 2 years. Both people you guys have appointed to our committee, we've never even seen. Never showed up to a meeting, never contacted us, anything. So taking her out was, I believe, uncalled for, and we would really like you guys to revisit her appointment. Because, you know, we really needed her, and it's not like we had anybody else, you know?
Thank you for that information. It may be something I overlooked.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Mayor,
I'm
Mayor,
here. What's up with that? Jerry Williams, good afternoon, resident of the city. And I wasn't available to congratulate the newly elected and re-elected councilors. Welcome, glad to have you here. I believe this, with your presence here, the city can move out of the shadow of the darkness into the light. City Council at the organization meeting in January voted to have the appointed employee from the city clerk's office not obtained. And the council needed to have a name of an individual presented to them so that they could follow through with their obligation to fill that position. That has not been done. We've gone to 2 meetings now, and no name has been presented for council for them to continue doing what they were voted to do. That is to put employees in positions, and right now, that's not happening. And I'm a little dismayed by that. The fact that there's no working relationship between the executive and the legislative bodies. The responsibility and obligation of the executive board is to make me as a citizen believe and trust what you do. And that is not happening. And as long as you continue this effort, the city will not flourish, will not move forward. You have an obligation. The executive officer has an obligation to present a name. The legislative body, council, has an obligation to approve and that position to be filled so the city government can function at the high level as we as citizens expect. And the services that are provided are at a high quality. You were all voted in to do the job. And right now, it's not happening. And I'm sitting back there and I don't want to say anything, but I gotta say stuff because if it's not brought up, people will not know what's going on here. You have an obligation again, under the rules of the city, to do your job. From the executive, legislative, work together, get it done, so the city can move forward. And then people can look at us and say, that's a well-oiled machine that's happening there in the city of Real Downs. Gentlemen, ladies, like that one individual mentioned, and he was popular saying, get it done. Yes, get it done.
thank you, Mayor. Anyone else want to address the governing body? Okay. Councilors' comments. Councilors?
Want to go first, Judy?
Yeah, I've kind of, Mayor, if it's okay. Okay. I kind of have to agree with Jerry's son, like Jerry, I'm sorry,
Gary.
Gary. It's close. That was close. Anyway, I have to agree with him that we need communication. We don't have communication here. I don't have communication a little bit with the mayor, because he did call me the other day, but I'm not welcome in City Hall, and I don't like that. I have to ask to come in, I have to make an appointment. I never know where I'm gonna be from one day to the next, because I'm a caregiver. But I would like to come in when I have time, and that's not allowed. And also, we need to learn our ordinances. We all need to get together on it. We need to learn our state statutes, not just somebody's opinion. We need to learn them. And that's communication, and that also will help our city flourish. And also will help our residents if we're all on the same page. And I don't like people that don't talk to me. I like them, but I don't like their actions. And people that don't talk to me or ignore me. Because I'm here for the good of the residents. They are the ones that hire and fire us. They're the ones that say who gets up here is our residents. They're our boss. Nobody else is my boss, but these residents. And I plan to be here for them, for the good of this town and for the good of our residents. And that's the oath I took. Now, I don't understand why we can't communicate. We're humans. One phrase Jimmy always said, dogs bark and bite and get mad. Humans know better, you know? So I want communication. I want a workshop on our state statutes, also on our ordinances, so we all are on the same page. And that's all I'm asking. I don't like this feeling of people not communicating, because that's our job. So thank you, everybody, and I hope we can do that. Hope we can start communicating.
I'll ask you, since you and I have been here the longest, you will remember,
Mhm,
just a yes and no answer, okay?
okay.
You remember when, former Mayor Gary Williams refused to appoint, Carol Burton as, the city clerk, and she was in limbo for 2 years? You remember that?
I remember that, but he brought a name forward and we didn't agree on it, so she stayed as our clerk.
Oh, well, sounds to me like there's always been some problems with the council. Small town, that happens.
Yeah, but there's no reason for it.
No,
We need to get on the same page. I would like to have a workshop or a special meeting just on our ordinances and hear everybody's opinion, because we're the ones that make those ordinances at this time. And not somebody's opinion of how it works, the actual state statute. And if we want to change something, that can be done to a degree, I think, but not that we can go totally against those state statutes. So we have to get together and we have to be able to talk to each other. We have to be able to listen to each other. But most of all, we have to go by state statutes. So thank you. And I think you will.
yes, Councilor Proctor.
Hey, how to get this started, it's kind of. First of all, we have to be on the agenda before we can do our job, period. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. I've got one vote. Okay, each councilor's got one vote. But we can't vote on something that you've asked us to do if we can't get on the agenda. A workshop is even been looked at as favorable from the people up and around Santa Fe. They think it's a good idea. I've discussed this with our mayor. He's I'm not going to use the word consider. You're looking into it to make it possibly favorable. The meetings, we don't know the times that our agenda is gotten out to us. I do think that is on our agenda today to vote on it, if I'm not mistaken. But give us time to work. This is our third meeting. I'm not going to say we can work all the kinks out of the road, but we can surely straighten some of it out. Be patient with us while we're being patient with our government. And it's the way I look at it. Fix the things you can fix. Leave the things alone that you can't fix. And may God give us the knowledge to know the difference between the two. All of this we're talking about today is fixable. And we can fix it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so everyone will know, and Counselor Miller. I'm down here more than any mayor by far has ever been. Do you remember when, you had thought maybe, that I was never here, and I asked the police chief? Several people said, Mayor, you're here every day, most of the day. Sometime you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna spend some less time, because I'm down here way too much. The reason you need to make an appointment, here's a good example. I was in Las Cruces today with the dermatologist. And he drilled so far, I looked on this side to see if he came through. It's throbbing like heck, but I made a point to get back. But if you come down here and I have a doctor's appointment in Las Cruces, I'm like anybody. There's times when I have obligations, I won't be here. And then you're really gonna be mad.
Oh, well.
You have pretty good patience with me. Okay, so any more, Counselor?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. This is to the citizens of Ruidoso Downs. A month ago, on January 8th, 2023, this city council did not confirm 4 individuals who are being paid by you, the citizens of Ruidoso Downs. Collectively, you and we are paying over $313,536 a year to just these 4 people. 2 of these people are appointed officials. The other 2 are employees. The mayor failed to obey the laws of New Mexico when he failed to present 4 names to replace these 4 people on January 22 at the city council meeting. He may not submit the same names as the people who were not confirmed. So eventually, all 4 of these individuals will not be drawing a paycheck from the city of Ruidoso Downs. Last week, a Supreme Court justice declared that shall is mandatory. New Mexico Statute 311(5)(a) says in part, if the governing body fails to confirm any person as an appointed official or employee of the municipality, the mayor at the next regular meeting of the governing body shall submit the name of another person to fill the appointed office or to be employed by the municipality. Shall is mandatory. Also, a month ago on January 8, 2023, this city council was denied the responsibility we have been assigned by law. New Mexico State Statute 312(3) under governing body powers and duties states that the governing body shall determine the time and place of its meeting, which shall be open to the public, and determine the rules of its own meeting. The city of Ruidoso Downs Ordinance 31.02 states, City Council shall determine the time and place of holding its meetings and shall be open to the public and determine the rules of its own proceedings. Mayor Holman is denying our responsibility by law to the power and duty of our position as the governing body of Ruidoso Downs. We were denied this duty a second time at the last city council meeting on January 22nd and a third time today. All 4 of our councilors have submitted requests to be on the last 2 agendas, but this mayor will not allow any of the councilors to put something on the agenda. He's exercising unreasonable and unauthorized legislative power over the city council, and he is preventing the city council from addressing important issues because we cannot discuss or act and can act on anything that he refuses to put on the agenda. This unprecedented agenda control is a threat to our local democracy and it's a civil discussion. I believe we're going to have to seek outside legal advice to force this mayor to obey. And I rest.
Any other councilors? There are 2 things in a conversation with Councilor Proctor. We will be, I have directed the finance director to give monthly reports. That's never been done before. We haven't done it before, but she will be giving monthly reports just like the directors do. The other thing I mentioned in the conversation, and I think, Council Proctor will, I say, yes, that did happen. I told him, I said, I really don't care when we meet. I don't care. Doesn't make me any difference. So I did let him know. And he can pass that on to you guys. I don't care. There's good things about both. There's bad things, or it's a trade-off. Either way you go on it. But whatever you want to do on that time, meeting, that's fine with me. I just live 2 blocks from here. And I got a 4-wheel drive, so I can get there. Okay. No other comments from councilors?
Now, the only thing is that it's not so much us that what we want. We don't have a choice on what we want. Those people out there tell us what they want, and we're trying to abide by that.
Okay,
But the mayor stopped me the other day. I was in here turning some paperwork into, the finance clerk, and he asked me to have more of my time. I sat down with him and he discussed some of this stuff with me. And, I had left him a comment that, half a loaf better than no loaf at all. So if we can meet halfway, come to some type of agreement, then we've made an accomplishment in getting a little of what you've asked for as citizens. If we get the half loaf, next time maybe we'll get a little bit more of the loaf and keep going on that. If you'd still like to see the meetings at 5:30 in the evenings, I'm sure that we can
absolutely.
work on that.
It's on the agenda.
Is it on?
Not on this agenda.
No.
So, body meeting agenda and packet procedures.
Okay, having no more comments from councilors, we'll move on. No comment, from the mayor. I've already told you about the finance director will be, doing a monthly report. Unfinished business. Is discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2024-03, a resolution of the city of Red Oso Downs adopting the 2023 Lincoln County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update. Are you gonna do that?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Hi, Mayor, members of council.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Are we doing this without a motion?
We discuss that for a second and see which way that y'all would rather go, because there's been some confusion.
Yeah,
In the past, what I'd always done was allow the presenter to make the presentation, and then have the motion following that. Then about probably 2 months, 3 months ago, we changed that and said, well, let's go ahead and have the motions first and then the discussion. And so I think it's caused some confusion because we had one way of doing it before and one way of doing it after. It doesn't, I've reviewed Robert's Rules of Orders. It doesn't matter so far as the fact, as long as it gets done. And if it's y'all's desire that you have the presenter make the presentation before making the motion, you understand that by making the motion, by making the second, doesn't mean that you're in favor of the action. It just means that you're moving the action on to debate, where you can ask the presenter questions and so forth and so on. So that's something that, whatever y'all are most comfortable with doing is it works either way. The only purpose of this is to try and, so that everybody knows who's on first. So,
At the.
all right, this will be the same thing. I don't care about the meeting times. I don't care about this topic either. Whatever you want to do, it's no problem.
Mayor, I've attended 3 parliamentary procedure meetings and both these gentlemen attended the same training in Santa Fe. And the expert on that, Senator Daniel Ivy Soto, says that the proper procedure is to make a motion and a second and then start the discussion.
And I'm saying the same thing. The issue is whether or not Jeanette's presentation, or Joey's presentation, or whoever's presentation is part of the discussion. Because the discussion is usually considered to be the discussion between the counselors and the counselors asking the presenter question. But as long as everybody understands where we are, it's okay. All I'm saying is that the presenter is making a presentation for y'all to make a motion on. If you want a motion made before the presenter presents, that's fine too.
Well, I move that this particular item be deleted off the agenda because I spoke to the state representative and I know Jeanette's gonna agree with this. This was not supposed to be something for the counselors to look at and talk about. It was supposed to be an actual, give me the word.
Public
Public
hearing.
It was back in, it was the,
Well,
we
we're not-
also,
yeah,
put it
that
together for
was
us
for
for
a different part of this thing. It was supposed to be a public hearing according to Wendy Blackwell is up there
yeah,
right now.
she is.
Can we let?
Wendy, could you explain the situation on the public hearing, please?
Certainly. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Folks, my name's Wendy Blackwell. I work with SWCA Environmental Consulting, and we're the contractor that was hired by Village of Ruidoso to update the countywide hazard mitigation plan. So City of Ruidoso Downs is one of the 6 communities, 5 incorporated plus the county, to come forward to adopt the plan. And the federal regulations that do talk about this concept of the public involvement, it requires 2 times that the community can is supposed to be able to have an opportunity to comment. And I went back and looked at the regulations, and specifically what it says is, this is 44 CFR section 201.6 on local mitigation plans. And what it says is under the planning process, an open public involvement process is essential to the development of an effective plan. In order to develop a more comprehensive approach to reducing the effects of natural disasters, the planning process must include an opportunity for the public to comment on the plan during the drafting stage and prior to plan approval. So the comment time during the drafting stage was last summer when we had a public meeting, but we also had a opportunity for people to look at the plan itself and provide comments. And then these adoption hearings would be the second opportunity for the public to comment. But I think I misspoke when I said the term public hearing was required. What I just read to you is the federal requirement. And so the other communities that adopted, at least I spoke with the Village of Ruidoso today, and they confirmed when they had the adoption hearing, they used the public comment period for the meeting, the general meeting, as an opportunity for anyone to come forward with concerns. So I think it's up. Jeanette, does that make, is that what you wanted me to explain?
Yes.
And so in that regard, and I also talked to Ron Saint at the Village of Ruidoso today to see how they had done it. They did it exactly like this. And so I thought it would be most appropriate to allow the public to comment once Jeanette makes her presentation, and allow public comment on that. And then what I was saying was then have the motion so that the counselors can have the opportunity to have their discussion and question Jeanette. So, but at any rate, the public will have the opportunity today to make their comments on the plan, which I believe is all the federal regs require.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So, Counselor, what you're getting at is once a presentation is made by the P and Z director, then the audience can question the P and Z director on what they might not understand.
Correct.
In this. Now, this thing's about this thick.
I know. I'm familiar with
There
it.
it is.
I've got two of them now, okay? But they're not this big. So, and I haven't really read through it. But it was drafted by FEMA and put together and it's been adopted by five of the, I think it's five of the other agencies.
I think we're the only one that has it adopted.
That's correct. And so I just wanted to clarify that the audits will be able to, citizens will be able to ask questions about what Jeanette's fixing to speak about.
Yes, sir. And I think by doing that, we satisfy the federal requirements. And that's what Wendy and I discussed earlier today. And I believe that that takes care of the situation. My concern is, what effect does it have by Rio Dos Downs not adopting? Because it is a hazard mitigation. It has to do with public safety. I wouldn't want the city to have an issue with not being protected by it.
So Mayor and councilors, can I respond to that question?
Yes.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. So this plan is a natural hazard. It's like a risk reduction. It would really happen between now, the actions would happen between now and let's say the next monsoon or the next wildfire season. Well, although wildfire season does seem to be year round these days, but it's not an emergency operations plan, which would really be response oriented and public safety oriented. And so at least in the immediate, we think of mitigation as happening either before or after a natural hazard event. So there's the consequences of not adopting the hazard mitigation plan is that City of Rio Dos Downs would not be eligible for the FEMA hazard mitigation grants. However, the city would still be eligible if there was a federal disaster declaration and FEMA public assistance was made available to Lincoln County communities. You would still be eligible to get that immediate response funding to repair roadways, bridges, and other infrastructure. If you don't adopt the plan, I think generally we think that the other 5 communities will more likely move forward and submit their adoption resolutions to FEMA so that FEMA can write an approval letter. It's a 5-year approval cycle. So that whatever date FEMA writes the approval letter, that's when the 5-year cycle will start. And a month or 2 months or whenever it is that City of Rio Dos Downs is comfortable adopting, that adoption resolution would be submitted to FEMA, and FEMA can reissue the approval letter, and they'll include City of Rio Dos Downs in the listing of the approved communities, which would allow you to then apply directly to FEMA to implement some of the actions that are written up in the plan. I hope that made sense. But I do want to clarify that the plan was written by the planning team, which was made up of representatives from each of the 6 communities with subject matter experts. FEMA and the state do a review of it and let us know what we're missing, and then we go back and revise if needed. So I hope that helps to clarify.
Councilor Proctor, do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. This is Councilor Proctor. One question. I understood you to stipulate that this is not passed, that could possibly affect a grant under FEMA if there was a hazardous condition happening here in our community.
So if it is response oriented, this mitigation plan has no impact on your eligibility. So if there is a presidential disaster declaration and Lincoln County is included in that disaster declaration, it doesn't matter if you have this mitigation plan or not, the city would still be eligible for public assistance or individual assistance grants that FEMA offers. There's a separate set of grants that FEMA offers that are called the hazard mitigation assistance grants, and there are 3 or 4 of those. They are briefly described in this hazard mitigation plan, and some of the many of the actions in the plan show that some of those hazard mitigation grants could possibly fund some of the actions. It's only those hazard mitigation grants that the city would not be eligible for. And those are not related to response, they're related to risk reduction. Does that clarify or makes it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Did you?
I
Yes,
have one
Counselor.
question. I forgot the name.
Wendy.
Wendy, okay. Oh, heck, I wrote it down. Wendy, this is Judy Miller, City Councilor. And I've had a few residents and I myself don't want to follow some of the guidelines like the other towns have, like cutting the timber back from their house 30 feet. We don't have a lot of tall trees in Ruidoso Downs like Ruidoso and some of the others. What we worry about, we can't have any trees within 30 feet of our house. We won't have any shade. So I would not mandate that, especially to our residents, because our yards are not that big, a lot of us. And if we can't have any trees within 30 feet of our living space, that would hurt a lot of us. I mean, we'd have to hire people to cut them, and a lot of us can't afford that. So I just didn't want to follow every recommendation they give us for fire safety. When, you know, we don't have all the tall timber, and I was hoping that that would mandate us to have our residents do that.
So the actions that are recommended in the plan, and Jeanette, the PowerPoint presentation has those action charts for you all to look at. I think, Counselor, what you're referring to is there's some hazardous fuels reduction actions listed there. They're very high level. They don't specify locations where this activity would occur. And I think the intent was, if there is support from the governing body to move forward on one or another of these actions, there would have to be planning and funding and property owners, or if it is city property, or coordinating with adjacent property owners. A lot of those steps would have to happen first before anything would happen on a particular property. Like, for example, you'd have to pass an ordinance for anything to be mandatory. And some of the outreach and education may just be to give people information if they voluntarily want to follow through. So you're not committing to implement any of these actions. These are a list of actions that could occur should the city decide to move forward with them at a future date. And there is a specific disclaimer in the document that explains that. And I think we even have it, let's see, we have it on one of the slides in the presentation. Implemented as adequate resources are available and as community leadership deems appropriate. There is no obligation to implement any of the actions. So that wording is specifically in the plan.
Thank you.
Okay, good. I'm glad that helped.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, Counselor.
It's for you, Jeanette. How long is this presentation?
Well, it's also in the packet. It's just a few slides, but I think Wendy already took care of it for me. And I think the where you're talking about the tree, there is a little action description for the city of Ruidoso Downs, and then I can give it to you guys. If you guys liked. Okay, so it's on page 6 of the presentation that you guys have, but it's like it's in the front of the full plan. It's just some slides of
Page 6.
I think we could listen to the presentation and then present input from the public body, and the council should have comments on all of it together rather than.
I agree. I think that'd be a good procedure to take care of.
Okay, so like Wendy said, it's a natural hazard mitigation overview. It's just like things we can do to prevent any of those natural hazards would happen in our city. And like she said, to remove any dead trees, I did see that. And let me read it to you exactly how it says. It says, create a thin buffer zone in the hazardous field reduction bordering the city limits, examples in the Turkey King area and Blue King area. So it's not,
I read that one.
Yeah, so it's
And
not
it's the
just
city
saying-
limits. Yeah.
yes, it's not targeting people in their homes.
Yeah.
It does say, like, you know, if you have that tree, cut them down and all that stuff. But I think also Wendy was trying to say that all those grants we can apply, if we talk about this, we can use that money to take care of that ourselves and not have, the citizens pay out of their pocket. And correct me if I'm wrong, Wendy, I think that's what she was trying to say. If we do have this, we can apply if something were to happen to our city. We can apply after, but we can apply for grants to mitigate where we can, you know, stop from happening.
Event, yeah.
Yes, yes. So that's what she was trying to say more, so, and then also we, the trees is one thing here, everything
Before,
else.
Jeanette, before I'm just remembering at one time, some of the independent companies that insure had some requirements. I don't know, it may depend on which insurance company you have. At one time, some of them had requirements for trees not to be, you know, right up close to the house.
Yes, I do know that, my mom's house, they asked for a picture of every tree
Yeah,
and how far it is, and they did tell her which trees to cut down if she wanted a lower cost insurance.
okay.
So basically, I think Wendy answered all the questions, and I wasn't part of the planning as much as Roy was. I just came at the end when Wendy was like, hey, we're ready, can you present it and put it on the agenda? So that's when I came in. But yeah, I think I was one of the meetings, and that's it. I didn't have a lot of input because I wasn't part of it at all.
Okay, so having said that, what you're suggesting sounded good. At this time, we could have the public ask questions. That sounds like a good procedure to me. So let's,
What might work, Mr. Mayor, is that we not only have Jeanette, who obviously came in at the end of the, since Wendy is available, she could help with some of the answers to the questions.
that's what I'm thinking. Wendy, did you hear that?
Yes,
Wendy?
sir. Yes, I'm available.
Okay, good. Okay,
Jeanette, go ahead.
we have, any of the residents of the city of Rosa Downs want to ask questions of this topic? Yes, sir, Mr. Williams.
I have a little hesitation about the post activity of making rules after the fact. Jody's dad went out in the forest and dug up a whole bunch of trees, and her house is surrounded by trees. Having to cut them down after the fact. I'd hate to have somebody come up and tell me that, you know, I'm not allowed to have something in my yard that's been there for 10 years, you know? So I have a little, I don't like giving away the authority of my property. And if that's what it means, I haven't read it, so I don't know, but if that's what it means, I don't think it's such a good idea.
Is it online where everybody can read?
Yes, if they can get into the agenda.
Wendy, did you hear Mr. Williams' comments?
Yes, I did. And one thing to keep in mind is that for those FEMA hazard mitigation grants, and Jeanette was referring to, you know, to be able to apply for those, that's one of the reasons you would want to have the approved mitigation plan. That funding can only be used on private property if it's a voluntary participation. So there would not be, you know, again, as we were talking a few minutes ago, there would have to be many steps that would happen as far as after this plan was adopted, the council would really have to decide they wanted to move forward on one or two or none of these actions. But if they chose to move forward with hazardous fuels reduction on private property, they would really have to work only with those community members that are voluntarily participating.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Back when we had our big floods, a few years back, water come up and, it didn't even get in my narrow house, but it would come up on the roads.
Yeah.
And, we owned two properties on each side of our house. And we sold them. And we found out that, that FEMA had put us in the floodplain. And, the people we were gonna sell them to, it cost $500 a month extra, just for flood insurance. And the bank wouldn't finance the house that way, so we did sort of ourselves. But FEMA, I don't know. Me, less government is better government.
There's somebody back over there.
Yes, sir.
I agree, and I'd like to try to dovetail off the master
Can I
plan.
get you to state your name for the record?
My name is Link, President of Doritos Towns. Just because Washington dangles no money in front of a city like ours doesn't mean that should be motivation for doing things that don't seem right or we don't understand. And it appears to me that not everybody up there understands what's being proposed exactly. And if you're having discussions about working on finance or is it online or it's that thick, but I haven't read it. It just kind of confirms what it appears to be is we're not sure what's in it. And I wasn't aware it's going to be discussed today in a public meeting to approve a 600-page document. And I'm not sure the citizens of the town were either. But it appears, excuse me, just a second.
Sorry.
That's fine. It appears to me what is being proposed is long R-wise, quote unquote, proposals that I've been familiar with in other parts in Alto specifically, that requires or recommends mowing all your grass down to 6-inch stubble every year and keep it mowed that way. Lift all your canopy up to 8 foot or 6 foot from ground to the first branches and keep it there. To thin all your unwanted trees, which is kind of arbitrary. And then take down all your dead and down stuff in addition to that. And I probably missed a couple of things. But if you're going to vote on that, you need to know what's in it. And maybe this lady on the screen or this nice lady in front of me can explain that. But right now, it's not being discussed. It's not being presented to the community.
I think Ronald Reagan said it best when he said the most scariest words in the world is help from the government. And I'm here to help you.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that statement by him, and Nancy Pelosi also said, let's pass this, we'll read it later.
Look for that.
But
Mr. Laceland.
There is some mention about buffers all around the perimeter of the city limits. That'd be all on private property, correct? Or do we know? Well, I like other people have indicated, I don't want to be even get my foot in the water about giving the green light for a government entity to come in and say, we're going to take off a 50-foot buffer zone on this quarter mile or half mile of acreage you've got that has to be on city limits.
Really?
So that's my input. I'd like to read the document. I didn't have an opportunity.
Bunny,
Well, I'm confused. Is this or is this not supposed to be a public hearing? Because to me, it should be a public hearing where we have an input and then a decision is made. And nothing was advertised. And when it is advertised, we have a nice expensive sign out front and we have some water bills that are both of them are free. And then whatever else the city decides can be advertising for this.
Mr. Bowen,
Counselor,
Mr. Bowen had a question.
yeah,
I'm just gonna reiterate, what Mr. Williams and Mr. Laceworth said. I want to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. I don't want y'all voting on anything unless y'all know what y'all are doing.
Counselor,
I just want to say, I called the guy that had a lot to do right with this, and he wants to see it. And I'll be glad to take it over and let him look at it, you know, because I'm like you, I don't know, I'm gonna go ask somebody.
Well, with the government, I know there's gonna be a lot of fine print.
Well, yeah, with the FEMA, you know it is.
Yes. Go over with a fine tooth comb before you even consider voting.
Yep.
yes, ma'am.
I'm Wendy Buck, and I'd like to suggest we have a committee formed to look at this data and to report back to the city council about what this actually will mean to the citizens. I don't know who wants to read through 600 pages of that stuff, but surely we could form a small committee to look into it a little further. Maybe some people on the city council would like to, should be on that committee. So
Well,
they know what
I
we're
think we ought to have one counselor that has checked into it a little bit. The council might want to do that.
There's no rush, is there? No push, like we have to do it by this deadline or we're.
No.
Wendy,
As long as we don't have a forest fire in the next couple of weeks.
Wendy, is there a time limit on this?
Thank you. I'm not sure if that's counselor or mayor, so I'm going to say both. The only time parameter really is that the city wouldn't be eligible to apply for the mitigation grant monies till you had the approved plan. The other communities in this county will move forward with their adoptions. If there is a wildfire coming up this season, any suppression costs or emergency protective measures that may be coming through a fire management assistance grant, which is not, your eligibility is not going to be hindered if you don't have this mitigation plan. Or again, if there's some flood issues with monsoon season or even post-fire flooding, again, the response is not going to, your eligibility for response funding from FEMA will not be affected if you hold off on adopting the mitigation plan. But I do want to say we had worked in the public comment period last summer. We had a community meeting at the Ruidoso Convention Center, and then we posted the plan itself with a little introductory video. So people, if they weren't able to go to the meeting in person at the convention center, they could review the video that gave them maybe 10-minute overview of the plan. And we had a survey asking specific questions, or if they just wanted to give general feedback, there was a place to do that. And so that was really I guess you could say, the focused effort on getting the community's input. And then the adoption hearings, again, here we are hearing concerns from the community. So, you know, of course you can move forward and hold off. And I'm happy to give a little overview. If you do decide you want to have a committee look through the plan, I can certainly give you kind of a high level overview if that would be helpful.
Committees are fine, but as a general rule, you want to get something really messed up, put it in a committee. And I'm thinking of when the license plates at one time were done by a committee up there in Santa Fe. And that was the ugliest license plate you can imagine. It had the hot air balloon on it, about a dozen other things. And because everybody in the committee wanted to contribute, and that license plate was a disaster. What we could do is we could poll the counselors right now to see whether you want to go with the committee or whether y'all want to pursue it. Counselor Lacewell.
I like the idea of a committee with Counselor Weber at the head.
That's fine
Do
with
we-
me. I don't.
do we-
However I can help, I will.
Mayor,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
agree, because we're talking about personal property here. And I think they need to have a say-so in that.
And Mayor, also,
Yes,
I think we need to find a place bigger than this if we're gonna put a public notice out, that these people need to come to this public hearing so that they can hear what the understanding is from whoever give the presentation, which I think you've already been nominated.
Railroaded, I
So,
think is more.
but I don't know if we can get all this done by the next council meeting, or we'll have to go into March with it. For that meeting, I don't know. 6 to 1, half a dozen the other.
I'd hate-
Try it.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Mayor.
I wanted to ask the discussion about having a public forum for citizens. She was talking about last summer about getting all these other communities, they've made a presentation. And obviously, I don't think our community was aware of it or knew anything about it or participated, obviously not in it, if they weren't aware of it. That's fine about what happened then, but we're looking at it right now. And I understand the fact that it's important for everybody here to know we're very conscious about our property and our property rights in this community, more than I think most other communities that are around us. And the committee is fine, and I don't think we should worry about the time frame of what it takes to get this approved or brought back forth for council to approve. I think that if it goes into March, it goes into April, whatever it is, as long as our community and its members and its citizens are educated enough to understand it, and council is aware of their responsibilities, let's just work it. Let's just work it and see what happens. I think that that's the right direction, and I appreciate the conversation that you're having between the executive and the legislative that shows that it can happen. You had that conversation. Thank you.
So we're looking, I guess, at, then we're looking at committee?
Yeah.
Okay, suggestion. What if each counselor, selects 2, people from the community? 2, 4, 6, 8, that would be 8 people.
Mayor, I'd like to throw the hat out to the public that's here right now to ask if there's anyone out there that would like to be set on that committee.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, it's easy to say, we'll just have a committee. And anything we do, it's hard to get people to participate. They feel like they're too busy or, so.
All right. I haven't wanted to get involved with this administration.
That would be
but
different.
I will volunteer. Remember, if it's okay with.
Thank you, Gary. I'm gonna nominate you anyway.
Come on. That's my name.
Yes, did I see another hand?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I volunteered to be on the committee as well because we manage private property, a large property on the end of town. And I also had a question maybe for Miss Wendy. I've done some work in the past, before I was an officer, in the private sector. I owned a large landscaping and construction company, and we did some work for city government. We were not allowed to touch, and it was based off a grant. We were not allowed to touch private property, unless if you're doing mowing along the highway and a state route rather. We were not allowed to touch any private property or trim any trees or cut any trees on the side of the highway once it got past a certain point, because that was private property. Is this grant, if we're creating a barrier, a fire barrier around the city limits, could you skip a private property that doesn't want to be involved in the program, per the grant, and then continue on the other side of that private property?
Wendy, did you hear that?
Yes, sir. And the answer really is these FEMA mitigation grants will only allow work on private property if the property owner voluntarily participates. So if the council decides to move forward with, even if it's your regular maintenance, the grants, the FEMA grants are used for new work and not regular maintenance. So if there's thinning that's going to be done and the program that you all come up with does involve private property, if you want to use the FEMA grants, you would have to have voluntary participation letters from every private property owner that you were going to do any work on their land. So that's one of the things we see in other, there's been several communities in New Mexico that have taken advantage of this FEMA mitigation money to do work, not just on the municipal or county property, but also on private property. And they have had to each provide a letter from that property owner that says we're voluntarily participating. Does that answer the question? Okay.
Yes.
Wendy, this is Counselor Lacewell. Oh, on the south side of our city, the city limit butts up against the Forest Service. Could the Forest Service have the buffer rather than the private citizens on the other side of the city limit line?
Yes, depending on the kind of the ecological factors, because in some instances, the slope, the aspect, the density, the type of vegetation. And this is what I was saying, usually you would really have to have the professional, the foresters go out onto the property and work with the Forest Service and maybe come up with a program where it has to really be a site-specific prescription. I can't say that fast. That's a tongue twister. So it may work that the Forest Service would be willing to, and I think, I'm trying to look at the list of recommended actions, and in some cases, we did write like in cooperation with U.S. Forest Service, and that might be one of the things that you want to look at. The committee could look at the actions, and it would have to be this in order for FEMA to adopt, for FEMA to agree that the plan meets the federal requirements. There does have to be one action that's related to structures and infrastructure protection for each hazard type. So we would have to keep one action in there that is related to wildfire mitigation in regards to protecting structures or infrastructure. But a cooperative effort between the city and the U.S. Forest Service, that would still work. However, if City of Ruidoso Downs is taken completely out of the responsible entities and it only says U.S. Forest Service, that wouldn't really be counted as an action, that it's not within the city's ability to make sure that it would get implemented. I'm not sure if I explained, I might have made that more complicated than it needed to be. Did that make sense?
It does, it makes sense, thank you.
So
Okay.
Counselor Lacewell,
Thank you.
you have a city or county. And then you have Muscatine Apache Reservation past that, correct?
That's true,
Something to think about.
yeah. You're in a unique spot.
Okay, so where are we on this? We have a committee with a chairperson
Two people.
and two people.
Anybody else want on it?
We can- Wait a minute, now Proctor, are you taking those two just because they're here?
Pardon?
If each one of us counselors have to come up with two, are you taking those
I
two?
think they ought to belong to council
Those are Baber's count, okay. Good.
because they volunteered.
So Malone, Williams, and
Williams.
you're gonna go?
And Malone, Williams and Malone.
And
Officer
And
Malone.
Baber, I'm sorry.
I'm-
Owen, Are you saying you'll be on the committee as
Yeah.
well? Oh, thank you. I'll take him.
You don't hold yourself to an 8-person committee or a 9-person.
Yeah, that was just a suggestion, and, when I thought it was just gonna be the counselors involved.
That's 3, that's a good start.
It is a good start.
The next 3 will be a lot of work.
Do we gotta do this some way?
It's gonna be exciting.
I think, ever how you want to do it, you're the
I know, but
chairperson.
do we gotta make a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
And it's not on the agenda, so we have to do it next month.
So the question that I would have, legal question is, and Wendy, if you know, I don't know off the top of my head, whether or not that committee, because it's going to be discussing public business, is bound by the Open Meetings Act and has to give notice of its meeting so that the public can attend those committee meetings. I would believe that would be the case.
I think so.
Get some more committee members.
So, Councilor Weber, if you
Yeah,
the city clerk to make sure that the proper notice of those meetings goes out. And I would just suggesting that the meetings take place here unless y'all can arrange for the Senior Citizen Center, which is the other place that we have.
Mayor,
yes, Counselor.
I like Bonnie's idea of having that meeting posted so all the residents can see it in Ruidoso Downs and know about it. Maybe on the water bills and here at City Hall for sure. So that's the only way they're gonna get to know it. If we don't post it. So you're right, John. Everybody needs to be involved in this.
So what we're looking at is then if we don't have any more people show up out of the 2,800 that we have in our community, the few that we have here that have shown up just about almost every meeting, these citizens here will decide for the community. Therefore, the other 2,700 and 80 are gonna have to abide by what this group of people here say. And that's just it. If you want to get involved, you got to be able to come to the meetings. If you don't come to the meetings, you can't sit back and say, oh, heck no, that's not the way we wanted it.
And that committee can have a discussion, but its recommendation is gotta come back to the city council, because the city council is the only one that can take
Right.
action.
And Mayor,
Yes,
also, we can use the senior center. If you have a bunch of people, like we have many times, have it at the senior center. So they can all come in. There's a lot of property owners in this little town.
Yeah.
Too,
Mhm.
at a time that all the people can show.
Understand what's happening.
I would say maybe
Kind of like
if
with when
something,
y'all had the forum.
Yeah.
if something like that happened, probably maybe a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, a Saturday afternoon for a couple of hours. I'm sure that we could get the senior citizen center. I know a person that can let us in and out.
Yeah.
So, but, and we got a lot more room there, and that would be the final stage. I would recommend that be the last meeting that we would have, and whoever showed up, that would be it, to give a recommendation to the committee, and the committee come back here and.
And you guys vote on it, yeah.
And may I also make the suggestion that you therefore postpone action on this particular item
Yeah.
and set it back for the second meeting in, what are we in? March. Second meeting in March. First meeting in March, which would,
Well, that's gonna be up to the committee chairman.
Well, yeah, we have one in March, and he's suggesting that the second meeting.
you got the 11th and you've got the 25th. So probably the 25th. Gives you a month,
Say so.
month and a half. So ask that it be postponed until it'd be brought back to council and that the
25th.
meeting of the committee be advertised as a public input meeting. Okay. And I also want to bear in mind also that I think that when it comes back, that the public should again have the opportunity to have input before it's a final adoption.
Like that.
And one of the things that I understood Wendy to say, and I just want to say this while she's still on, is that I understood her to say that any action that's taken under the terms of the mitigation plan, should it affect private property, that the council would have to pass an ordinance and to effectuate that as well. So
For the private.
we've got double protection. Is that correct, Wendy?
Yes, it's correct that none of these actions could move forward without the council deeming them to move forward with whatever criteria and steps you'd like to see.
So that the mere passage of this also will require further action by the council specifically to enable it.
Correct.
Wendy, also, along with that, whatever, if we pass this, they still have to get the public property signed by the owner. If they do anything to their property.
Or make an ordinance.
I think they still have to get the property owner's
If you want,
permission.
if you're going to pass an ordinance, then as however you choose to write the ordinance, if it's going to be for new development, then that ordinance would be the requirement. But regardless of, even if there is an ordinance requiring it, the FEMA mitigation grant money can't be used unless there is a voluntary participation letter from each individual property owner.
From the private sector.
Yes. So that
is correct.
still protects them. It still protects.
That is
the
correct.
private property owner.
Even if you had an ordinance, yes.
Okay, that's good. Mayor, would you like a motion?
I was hoping that one of you, I saw some writing, any of you get that where you can make a motion? Can you? Okay.
I move that we postpone the discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2024-03. Resolution of the city of Rio Doce Downs adopting the 2023 Lincoln County multi-jurisdictional hazardous mitigation plan update to March 25 of 2024.
Second that, March.
Question.
Is there a question?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
This concerns the committee. Does, and legal, does, council have to approve the creation of this committee? And if so, do you need to label a title of the committee? And the number of participants that are asked to be on the committee? Is that, something that need to be considered? You just can't off the top of your head say, have a committee, and then we move on.
And it, Mayor, I also know this isn't even on the agenda, so I would assume we have to do it at the next meeting.
Yeah, that's just, something that's, they need to bring up. Just off the top of my head, we just get, hey, we gotta have a committee. You're on it, you're on it, you're on it. It has to be a process that, I think council needs to be part of the decision.
So we got to put that on the agenda for the next time.
So that cuts us back 2 weeks instead of a month and a half. We've got a month to decide on.
So we can come back on February 25th?
Yeah. There's no rush.
There's no rush, I don't think.
Let's try it again.
So is that what?
March 25.
March 25 is our target. Come back and do this again, but.
It'll be on the agenda for the committee. And hopefully by then y'all will have a pretty good list of names to the mayor for the appointment to the committee. And the simplest thing for the name of the committee is simply the name of the resolution.
HMP.
Hazmat crew.
As the mitigation plan committee.
Perfect.
Okay, thanks, John.
Did someone second my motion? You did?
I did.
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't have to.
Roll call.
Counselor Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Baber,
Aye.
Counselor Lacewell,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
motion carried.
Wendy, thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. I look forward to helping you through that next step of the process, however I can.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna wait until the 25th, right?
No, you're gonna start, at the next city council meeting, will be on the agenda to appoint the committee, and then you can get going.
Okay,
Yeah.
And then you got a month.
okay.
Okay. As chairperson, you okay with that then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next item on the agenda is new business. It's been a long day for me. I was up at 3 o'clock today. I was in Las Cruces, being hammered on in a bunch of places. And I'm tired, so I asked Councilor Miller if she would help me out with new business. And the person that will give the
Yes, up
information
next.
for you. So would you go with it, please?
10, new business. A is discussion and possible action on approval of personnel recommendation to promote Officer Nicholas Malone for the rank of patrol sergeant for the police department. Take it over, DC.
Okay, good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. I come before you today to recommend that you approve the promotion of Officer Nicholas Malone to the position of Sergeant Nicholas Malone. Just some history, some background in promoting police officers in this area. They usually go by years of service and then just promote them. I don't believe in that philosophy. I actually test the officers to ensure that they have the ability to lead and supervise. Therefore, since the budget negotiations last year, we were approved for a patrol sergeant position. We've been working to test the eligible officers. There were 2 that actually put in for the position, Officer Malone, who sits behind me, and Officer Carl Becker, who's out on patrol right now. Both are well qualified. Carl Becker has 18 to 20 years on. Officer Malone has a total of 5 years on. But again, I go back to testing. So we actually gave them a written supervisor test. They had to pass that. Once they pass that portion of the testing, they go on to an oral interview section of the test, which we grade on a 1 to 5 point schedule for each question that we asked them, and they had to come up with certain points. And then the last item that we did was we gave them a tactical scenario, a realistic tactical scenario for this area where a supervisor would have to make extremely tough decisions, usually life and death decisions. And we pretty much put the screws to them pretty hard to make sure that they can handle it. They actually, both candidates did very well. They both passed, and I wish I could promote 2 sergeants, but Officer Malone, who sits behind me, actually edged out Officer Becker. They were pretty even through the written tests and the oral interviews, but the tactical, Officer Malone shined a bit more than Officer Becker. So Chief Commander and I, and actually Heath here, who sat in on the interviews as an impartial grader, we actually discussed it, and we felt that Officer Malone deserved to be promoted to the position of sergeant. That's what we ask that you guys vote on today.
I'll make the motion to promote Officer Nicholas Malone to the rank of sergeant at the police department.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Counselor Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Baber,
Aye.
Counselor Proctor,
Aye.
Counselor Lakeland.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Also, as a request, I did speak with the mayor before the meeting today. After you all get through new business and adjourn the meeting, I'd like to do a little bit of a promotion ceremony for Officer Malone. His family's here to do a promotion ceremony. I would like any of the council members and the mayor, if they would wish to stand by after for congratulatory presentations and some photograph picture taking if possible. So
Absolutely.
I ask you that, and if you wish to stay, please do.
I remembered, and then I forgot again just before you started talking, so Apologize for not remembering.
Thank
You
you.
had requested that. Okay, Councilor Miller.
Congratulations. We'll go on to B. Discussion and possible action on appointment of Maria Gutierrez for the Parks and Beautification Committee vacancy. I don't know that Maria's here.
Councilor.
I'd like to make a comment. So this is for the Parks and Beautification Committee, and there is no such committee. On September 11 last year, the city attorney presented an agenda memorandum to update the beautification bylaws because they hadn't been updated since 10 of 2015. But a counselor who's not here anymore had the matter postponed. So then on September 25th, we met again, and the city attorney presented new bylaws with this new name. And the mayor and those other two counselors voted against it. So we don't have this committee. And I'd like to move that we amend this motion to appoint these people to the existing committee since it's still here.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, it happened.
Okay.
Ellie did the bylaws, changed the bylaws, and two of the other counselors, and you voted against it. I've got a solution to this.
Okay, let's hear. it.
On the next beautification, keep Riddles Downs beautiful meeting on the 21st, I would like to have our committee vote on the change of name. Joey Jarvis wanted us to be together as the Parks and Beautification Committee, so we can help him at the parks along with our beautification, and that is the parks really. And it is the event for our community, which I really appreciate naming some people. I was short 2 people on that committee, and I appreciate it and all the help we can get on these events for the city, plus beautifying our city. I really appreciate the help. I need it. And so in our next meeting on the 21st of February, I put that first on the agenda, that we change the name to Parks and Beautification. But as far as I'm concerned, we'll still be under Keep America Beautiful guidelines and New Mexico Clean and Beautiful. So
So the guy that's taking care of the parks right now, is he gonna help y'all?
I'm going to ask Joey to be on the advisory committee, and he's over all that.
Cause isn't there 2 people that's in charge of the park?
Yes, they are, but if Joey's on it, he tells them what to do, you know.
Yeah.
So that will help us to have an advisory committee.
26.
26.
Yeah, he's the director.
No, I
Oh.
mean for the people that worked at the park.
Well, no, I'm talking about our,
Yeah, he's their boss.
But there's 2.
our committee.
Ronnie and
It's the third Wednesday of every month.
I just,
Ronnie Randolph is
We need the
next.
help, so I want
next
an
in line.
advisory committee appointed by our committee. And we can change the name, and that will change it on the bylaws.
so that's gonna be on the agenda for the,
No, it might, after we change it, after we change our bylaws in the committee, then it will go to the city council. Right?
So let me ask you a question, Judy. As I recall, we sent that, those bylaws back to you and Bonnie, because Bonnie said she hadn't seen them. And they were then brought back to council for action, and no action was taken.
No,
Correct. Well, on September 25th, when it was brought back, we voted, and those 2 counselors who aren't here anymore and the mayor voted no.
yeah,
So it wasn't passed.
it was not passed.
So may I suggest this? May I suggest, because technically Jody is correct, this committee doesn't exist, although I think we know what it's meant to be. But if we could go ahead and amend the motion to be for only the beautification committee, and then on the next agenda, bring the bylaws back for passage, then it would automatically amend back into beautification committee would be amended into the Parks and Beautification Committee.
So I move that we amend this to say that we have discussion and possible action on appointment of Maria Gutierrez for the beautification committee.
Okay, that's not called the beautification. It's Keep Riddles Downs Beautiful.
Right.
Is what the name of the committee is, right?
So let's amend it to what the current committee's name is,
Okay,
and then bring that bylaw back at the next meeting so that it will
Okay.
Those Downs beautiful.
Keep Ruidoso Downs beautiful.
Yeah.
KRDB.
Okay.
It's gonna be changed to the.
It's gonna be changed to Parks / Beautification Committee. I'm sorry,
I'll try.
but I'll take in front of our committee on the 21st at 4 o'clock right
So
here.
we want to go ahead and approve these two things.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yes,
I'm
With that
gonna-
amendment.
with that amendment.
I'll try again. I move that we amend the title of this committee on this memorandum to say, discussion and possible action on appointment of Maria Gutierrez for the Keep Ruidoso Downs Beautiful Committee.
Second.
Roll
Councilor
call.
Miller,
Aye.
Councilor Proctor,
Aye.
Councilor Weaver,
Aye.
Councilor Lakeland.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay,
Okay, you're doing good. Keep going.
well, thank you. C is our next item on new business. And this is almost identical to the last one. Discussion and possible action on appointment of Lori Plant for the Parks and, well, for KAB committee. And then you could,
I'll take that motion
yes,
as amended.
Second,
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Proctor,
Aye.
Councilor Miller,
aye.
Councilor Lakeland.
Aye.
Councilor Weaver.
Yep.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now let's go on to D. Discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2024-05. Of resolution establishing the city of Ruidoso Downs governing body meeting agenda packets procedures. That's what we asked for at the last meeting. It's on the agenda. Who wants to start?
Ally, would you, because you're the one that's directly affected by this, would you explain what this does to the council?
Everybody had requested to place the agendas earlier than, to put the agendas out earlier than Friday. So this will put the agendas out on Wednesdays instead of Fridays.
I'm going to accept that resolution.
No. You want to move that we're going to discuss and possibly take action.
Discuss and possibly make action on.
Second.
Okay.
Is there any
Discussion,
discussion?
discussion.
I would like to discuss this. So the way this is written, the only thing that's addressed in here is the fact that the council members, parliament directors and everybody have to have the information to the city clerk no later than 10 a.m. on Monday, but it doesn't say anything about us getting it back on Wednesday.
That's the way it works. It only takes us about a day and a half to put it out. So instead of them having the information to us on a Wednesday, now they're gonna have it to us on a Monday. So the agenda package will be put out on a Wednesday.
So let me ask you this, is there any
That is-
problem with adding language to the resolution saying the packets will be delivered to the council no later than 5 p.m. Wednesday prior to the Monday meeting?
No,
Is that okay?
But it's not
Get them at
stated.
Noon on Friday, why not noon Wednesday? That's when they used to get them.
Well, or
I just said 5 o'clock.
Set the-
minutes.
So anytime before 5 on Wednesday.
Okay. It's acceptable.
John, should that be in writing here?
Well, when you make the motion, say subject to the amendment as stated by Attorney Under. Because my motion, I'm not trying to make a difference between 5 and noon. If you wanted at noon and Ally's able to do that, that's fine with me. But all I'm saying is that the language that says the agenda packets shall be delivered to the council members on or before 5 p.m. on Wednesday prior to the regularly scheduled Monday meeting. Now, of course, the weird thing about that is that if you have, for instance, we have President's Day coming up, so the regularly scheduled Monday meeting will not be until Tuesday. right? But I think if we got one or two exceptions throughout the year, so I don't think it's worth haggling over that, because you'll still be able to get the agendas out to them on before 5 o'clock on Wednesday, right? Let's say prior to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay.
So that would
Did
be
anybody
the,
write that down, Jody, or somebody? Okay. We'd like to have,
Making a motion to amend with what?
I move to amend this to say that.
I move to amend a resolution establishing the City of Ruidoso Downs governing body meeting agenda and packet procedures to include the language that Mr. Underwood just put in.
Well, that's good. That's a good way to do it.
we might need that verbatim also.
Counselor Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Baber,
Aye.
Counselor Proctor,
Aye.
Counselor Latham.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Counselors, you got anything else?
Did we put Lori in?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Nothing else? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Anybody would like to stay for the promotion of,